A lot of people come to me and ask me, how can I use ChatGPT in my organization? And the first feeling that most of the people have is, oh, let's just get a subscription for everybody and let them play around and let them do things. That might be interesting for the beginning, but long term, you need other things than a ChatGPT subscription with a chat interface to really get your business processes with generative AI to the next level. The three main challenges you have when you are using a chat interface with ChatGPT is skilling and reproducibility. You need to upskill everybody to use it and make sure that they all are able to create consistent output. Second, compliance and privacy, especially if you are a bigger company and you have compliance rules. It's sometimes very hard to get that run and set up in a governance layer that helps. And the last thing, data and systems integration. Probably you wanted a ChatGPT powered application can use all of your data, all of your knowledge, and can live in the environment that you have in your existing IT systems. And that's really the difference between using ChatGPT and building generative AI applications for enterprise made for production. And in this video, we are going to dive deep into these concepts. AI has been around for quite some time, but generative AI is something relatively new that emerged over the last 4 or 5 years. In 2022, with ChatGPT, we had the first time really an interface for which anybody who has ever used WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or any type of messaging app could use generative AI to create content and get something out. The nice thing about this interface is that never mind what you write, you will always get something. Not talking about the quality, not talking if it helps you, especially not for your business, not talking about the hallucinations even or data, but you will always get an answer. And that's just by how these models work and how they do. So when ChatGPT came out, what did it really do to us? It helped us to imagine and to dream of the things that we could do eventually at some point in time once we have something with the capabilities of ChatGPT is in our company's processes. The subscription that ChatGPTs or others like the Microsoft Copilot or other model providers provide is really a trying out prototyping interface and an interface that helps you when you have one-time tasks that you need to do, where you really don't have any repetitions of it, but where you as a user interact and you have to be in an interactive manner to iterate until you get to the point where you want to be. But it's not really the interface that if you have processes that are there across your organization that are not only done by you and also not only done once, but that are done many, many times. And then you need to have three main challenges in mind that we need to look into. The first challenge that we have when we are building in a company a generative AI application where you have to prompt is skilling and reproducibility. On the enterprise level, prompt engineering is a skill that many people can learn and acquire. It's not something completely complicated, but you need to train, you need to practice it, and you need to get your own hands on to create really good prompts that give you really, really good results. And not only think about the prompts, but also what goes into the prompts, meaning input context, getting information from your previous cases or your previous experience. For example, if you are a customer support agent and you are looking to automate your response to customer emails, then you need to have somewhere a knowledge base where all of that information of the customer emails is. And ingesting that information, building that into a pipeline that is in the end reproducible so that you can have consistent results that you can give to any type of customer and where you can be sure that what is out is up to the quality that you would like to have is sometimes not that trivial. So that's why skilling and reproducibility is one of the biggest challenges that we have and we have to take into account when we are actually building enterprise generative AI applications. Compliance and data privacy is a special challenge, especially if we are a larger scale company that uses data of customers, personally identified data, but also, let's say, very important data to your company, and that should not be there. And we have to think about the setup and how usually this AI completion works, where our data is in very precise. And it's one of the main challenges that we have when we build generative AI applications for enterprise. Every time you are using a generative AI for text like ChatGPT, you are letting a model evaluate a prompt. And the prompt has all of the information that you need. If you need additional data and you need to pull a data, for example, for retrieval augmented generation from a vector database or from your existing databases, then you use an orchestration that pulls data into this prompt. So everything that you have in this prompt can be seen by the entity that executes the model completion. When you use, for example, the OpenAI API, you are transferring all of your data to the place where OpenAI on their service, Microsoft Azure, can process this data. They have different compliance certification in their hands, like SOC 2 Type 2, they are GDPR compliant, but in the end, it is a transferring of data to a third party. You can prevent that if that's not helping in your setup for whatever reason by using open source models that are in your own enterprise environment where data is never being sent anywhere else to the third party. You can do that, for example, with Llama 3 or with other open source models that come quality sometimes pretty close to the best-in-class models, do things a little bit different. Of course, you can also train your own model from scratch, but well, that's quite a lot of effort and takes quite a lot. Fine-tuning is also something to consider. When you fine-tune something, you can fine-tune open source models in your own premises, on your own infrastructure, but you need to be aware that you need to maintain this infrastructure and that you need to have a runtime where you can do all of these things. Same holds for retrieval augmented generation. The data that you put in a RAG pipeline will need to be moved to the model for execution. And that's the thing. There's not really a one-size-fits-all. There's not a ChatGPT is bad because of privacy. They all have different conditions in their service level agreements, in their data usage agreements. So read carefully what is in there and evaluate if that is a way for you to use that particular provider in your case. The thing that really tells apart enterprises using generative AI for their business and people just using a public ChatGPT instance to do a little bit of prompting is the usage of data and integration into the existing IT landscape. So publicly available models like GPT-4, but also like Llama, like Gemini, like Mistral, they have been trained on what is said to be world knowledge, common knowledge of this world. So they remember remember is a big word, but they say certain things and can statistically infer answers to questions based on the data that they were trained. And they were only trained on publicly available data. In terms of GPT-3, it was published, was on hundreds of billions of tokens from Wikipedia articles, from books, but also just from common crawling of the internet, forums, Reddit posts, what you can imagine. And if you want to use your own company knowledge in a large language model or in a workflow with generative AI, that's quite challenging because you have to get this data to be a knowledge base for a generative AI without running into a lot of compliance issues and privacy issues that you have here. But also just getting these processes orchestrated is also not so easy. There is ways on how you can do that with retrieval augmented generation or with fine-tuning. Both of them have their pros and cons depending on the situation that you have. And then you always need to understand that is chat interface where you put something in a box. In the end, this is a tryout interface or an interface where you do things that you only need to do once, because all of the data with the chat interface over ChatGPT, you need to put into that chat interface, and even if it's just by uploading data sets. But in the end, if you have something that is reproducible and that actually makes your operations better, not only for you, but for your colleagues and your whole company, then you have to really think about pipelines of data integrating to your existing knowledge base, because all of that company data is already there. It's nothing new, but it just resides in a lot of unstructured data sources like emails, like Word documents, like PDFs, like spreadsheets, like databases, more or less structured. So these were the 3 main challenges that businesses and larger scale enterprises have when they would like to use generative AI like ChatGPT in their environment. All of that is not trivial, but with all of that, you can build pipelines and you can tweak them and make them iteratively better to have something that really helps your business. Don't get me wrong, ChatGPT, the public one, where you have a chat interface, is nice to try out things, to evaluate, and to get your own things. But think in the following terms. Think of it like process templates that you always need to do for always the same thing. So customer support, there's always a question coming with email in, then you need to search in a knowledge base, then you need to transform that what you found into an answer, and then you need to put it in an email. And then that's a process. It's reproducible, never mind how many applications you have or how many users do you have. And these things is what you need to really get into the mindset when you build enterprise-grade generative AI applications. Thank you very much. My name is Marcel, and we love to bring these videos to you. Please subscribe, like us, and follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, or shoot us a message to get in contact, to get into the next stages of your learning. And we are happy to help you on your way of generative AI.